Welcome back to Texas in Focus. My guest on the program today is San Antonio City Councilwoman Dr. Sukh Kaur. Sukh Kaur is the District 1 City Councilwoman. She was recently reelected by a large margin. She was recently named the chair of the city's Public Safety Committee. And with me being a resident of Monte Vista, she is also my councilwoman. Dr. Kaur, thank you so much for joining the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start with this. When we first spoke in 2023, you were days into your first term. Now you're 2 years in. You've been reelected. What's the verdict? Is city leadership for everybody? What's your experience been like the last 2 years?
It's been a roller coaster ride. There have definitely been some amazing moments where we feel like we're really able to get wins for our community, help members receive the supports that they need. Even every sidewalk, every crosswalk that we're able to get installed seems really exciting to be able to do. And then at times it's challenging, and folks do not hold back in comments. And I've learned not to read the comment section on social media, and so it's hard to, our job is to represent our 150,000 constituents, all of whom think a little bit differently, have a little bit different needs and a little bit different perspectives. And so we try as best as we possibly can to support as many of them as possible.
And of course, you've been in the news lately as one of the advocates for Project Marvel. The idea that we're going to build a sports district downtown, a new Spurs arena downtown. Why is Project Marvel right for San Antonio?
So aside from the fact that it's the San Antonio Spurs helping lead the arena portion of the sports and entertainment district, our downtown has been the core of our city. It is, we need a thriving downtown. And it's quite frankly, since the decade of downtown hasn't been invested deeply in, particularly post COVID, when we saw a lot of folks leave, office spaces no longer being used. We need to figure out different ways to activate our downtown and make sure every resident has access to it. And so often our downtown has been seen for tourists, but we want it to be seen for our locals too. And when you go to Hemisphere right now, it is used by our locals. The splash pad there is always packed with kiddos on the weekend. There's amazing bars and restaurants there. And also, of course, there's going to be a brand new basketball court. So I'm going to see you there. We're going to lace up. It's going to be shaded and lit basketball court downtown right at Hemisphere. And so there's so many public amenities there. This deal is really important because we need to make sure we're reinvesting in that area so that we continue to be able to have a downtown that everyone goes to.
Absolutely. Super excited about the basketball court. I heard it opens September 15th, so I think I'll be there that day to play. When it comes to Project Marvel, obviously some people are skeptical about the project. And I think it falls in two camps where maybe some people just don't think we need a basketball arena. And then maybe, people like the mayor that want to see the numbers or an independent analysis. What's your message to those, who are probably in the second camp who are skeptical and say they want to see a more independent analysis?
What's really important about this deal is to understand the financing, the way it's being backed, and also the investment that the Spurs are making into the arena. I actually looked a lot about research that folks were bringing up where arena deals have never really helped cities, and cities have been having to carry the backs, carry essentially funds that are not being paid for by sports teams on those arenas. So I wanted to make sure we weren't putting ourselves in that same position. And when I look up some of the deals from other cities, there's really no development guarantee. Quite frankly, that happened already in our city. And on top of that, there's no state PFZ funding that allows for us to pay for these for a portion, our portion of the arena, or a part of our portion of the arena with state hotel tax funds. And so the way that we are financing this is not through our general fund. It's not through our property tax dollars. We are financing our 489 million. So it's a three-party partnership. And I always say the winningest trio, and I got kind of some flack for this weekend because there was an error in one of my newsletters. But the winningest trio in NBA history is Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan and Tony Parker, not Tony Robinson, Tony Parker. Obviously, know that. And we have a similar setup right now. We've got amazing leadership at the city. I know I'm biased there. We've got some really strong leadership at the county and an MBA team that loves our city and is willing to put over $2 billion of investment into our downtown. So I think that's set up for a winningest trio. So each of those entities is contributing a portion. And as mentioned, our 489 million is a combination of the lease payments that we're going to get from the Spurs, from the development that's occurring around the area, and then also from these state hotel tax dollars, which are not dollars that can be used anywhere else outside of this district. And so that's what's important. It's not property tax dollars. I often see in the comments, hey, our property taxes are going to go up. It's not general fund dollars. We're not even using our general fund to back the debt on this. It's just a revenue bond. So the only thing that it's being backed by is these PFC dollars and these guarantees. And what's crazy about our term sheet that's been developed is, you know how when you're doing sometimes when there was a pandemic and folks were able to get out of their payments because it's a pandemic, the Spurs don't have that option. They have to pay us even in a pandemic. If a pandemic or other natural event, knock on wood, not occurring, occurs that would prevent them from or delay them from actually building or developers from building, they still have to make those payments.
And not to mention, I never hear mentioned, if Wimby and Harper and Castle, if they start winning some championships, that's probably going to drive some economic activity downtown as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, I'm the most optimistic about our team right now. We are a growing team. We've got great coaching leadership and we've got great talent. So yes, absolutely. But our Spurs fans are going to be Spurs fans regardless of whether we're winning ships or not. And I know folks are going to come out there. I have advocated significantly for that big jumbotron at Civic Park. There was one during Final Four, and there was so many folks out there watching. I was watching the women's games out there. It was so fun. And I can't imagine every time we have a big heated game or when we're in the playoffs, I should say, all of the community going to be out there watching on the Jumbotron. It's going to be incredible.
The Jumbotron during Final Four, that was one of the coolest things I've seen downtown. So
Amazing.
I
It was
have to
so
agree with
fun.
you on that. Absolutely.
There was a little girl sitting right in front of me with the Paige Becker's jersey on and was like jumping up and down and screaming. And she was like, felt like she was at the game. It was so cool.
Well, I think that segues nicely into my next question because I know you actually, have a background in team sports. You're active in local flag football. I've played on your basketball team before. And, some folks that listen to this may know I'm a boxing official, and I happened to watch you win a boxing match last year at the Red Carpet Brawl. I wonder how your background in team sports, informs when you're on the dais and you have to vote on something like Project Marvel or maybe trying to get Final Fours in the future. Knowing kind of the transformative power of sports, how does that inform your votes on sports related items?
So I vote, I try to say on this based on financials. Like, is this a good financial deal for the city, for our community? And that's why to the earlier point of folks that are skeptical, an independent analysis is not going to change the financials in terms of whether or not this is a safe bet for us. But at the same time, this is going to sound cheesy. And one of the first things I learned being on a team was there's no I in team. And quite frankly, when I was younger, I particularly before I started playing sports, I did a lot of things on my own. I, liked being more independent. I was living in my own lane and doing my own thing. And then I started playing on a team. And you realize when you can lean on people, how much stronger you can be as an individual. And when you have the right folks around you supporting you, what you can accomplish is limitless. And I think that's what team brings to any event or anything that I'm a part of, whether it's city council and figuring out a way to collaborate. The joke on council sometimes is they're like, Sukh's always being Switzerland, and she's always trying to bring people together and figure out how do we move forward forward? How do we find a compromise? How do we collaborate as a team to move forward as a city? Because that's what our community wants us to see. They want us to see, they love good team dynamics. I mean, that's what the Spurs are, right? That's why we love our team, because they know how to play team ball. It's never about the one star who's stealing the show. We know how to play team ball. And that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that we continue to keep them. But that's how it influences my decision making, is more so from a collaborative standpoint.
Absolutely. And in this case, on the Project Marvel vote, it looks like you had a team of seven that moved the vote forward.
And you know, you could say that, but we are a team of 11. We don't
Mhm.
necessarily always have to vote the same way on an issue, but I do think everyone's points being brought up are valid and important. And the community wants to know what's the benefit that we're getting out of this arena deal. And I understand that completely. And that's what some of my colleagues who didn't vote for this were trying to figure out, is how do we make sure that we're getting a good deal, right? And I believe that the financing structure that we have built shows us this is a good deal. And the economic analysis might show, right now, the mixed use development is supposed to bring us over $279 million of sales and hot tax revenue in the term of the deal. And maybe the independent economic analysis shows something a little bit different, but it doesn't change the fact that we are getting a huge investment from the Spurs. It's not coming from our revenue dollars. So I don't know what the economic analysis would show independently that would change the financing structure on this. But I do understand that folks want more data, and we can do everything we can to try to help show them what this structure actually is throughout the next few months before they have to vote on it in November.
And like I mentioned, I live in your district up near Monte Vista. You represent a wonderful district. You've got downtown, of course, Monte Vista, uptown, all the way up to North Central. Some of my favorite places in San Antonio are in your district, like Sac, Trinity. You know, of course, you've got the urban core here. What are some of your favorite things to do in D1?
Okay, so many of y'all know, and you mentioned that I play flag football. So I spend a lot of time at Almost Basin Park in all different portions of the park. I actually had no idea that it was all the same park, and we're working on a connectivity plan there. But you can probably catch me there a couple nights a week running around, running some wraps. Another one of my favorite spots is I love golf. And so the San Pedro driving range is so fun, and it's open late in the summer, so you can go out there, hit balls. They have a simulator if it's too hot to play outside. They have a simulator inside that's pretty fun, and they have a full grill, and so you can eat there too. And they just actually created a new little putting course over there too. And their par three is lit in case you want to play 9 holes. And then obviously I love to eat. So I have so many favorite D1 restaurants, and I feel like I'm gonna pick some one here, and I'm gonna forget so many. But my one of my favorite spaces, if you're like on a date night and want to get some good Italian, is Trey at Sama, which is so delicious Italian. I also love all of the ethnic foods that we have in District 1. So Ladino at the Pearl, amazing food. Shiro for sushi is absolutely one of my favorites. I was there for dinner last night where I actually saw Jeremy Sohan and gave him a little handshake and asked him if he would do a little video with me. I also love for pizza Barbaro and what else? So many great restaurants in District 1 that I absolutely love. Julia's is my favorite brunch spot over in Beacon Hill. So, and of course, I spend a lot of time, many of you know, I spend a lot of time at Hemisphere because I work out at Energy X Fitness and I teach yoga there on Monday nights. So if anybody wants to come take a yoga class Monday at 7:15, you can find me at Energy X.
I agree with all your recommendations. Barbaro's like 3 blocks from my house. It's wonderful, and they probably have one of the best happy hours in San Antonio. So I co-sign that. As we start to wrap this up, I wonder this. A bunch of your colleagues sought higher office last year or earlier this year. They ran for mayor. I want to say about like four of your colleagues. I've heard one of your colleagues in D10 is thinking about running for Congress. You've had a pretty good go of it in your first term. I wonder if in the future, if you would consider ever running for office higher than city council.
I feel like I just got through this very long, elaborate campaign. And so I am focused on making sure I can make progress right now in District 1 and in the city where I think we have an amazing opportunity. I actually really love local government. I think it's the closest, where I am the closest elected to my residents. And I love being able to walk around and say, like, yeah, tell me what you need. We'll figure out a way to support it. And I also love that we are nonpartisan. And quite frankly, it gives us the opportunity to really help support all of our residents. And yes, we do make obviously decisions sometimes that would be considered partisan. For example, my support of the Reproductive Justice Fund, which I think is an insanely important issue for women across the state of Texas. But at the same time, I think it's great when we get to collaborate on issues across the aisle. And so that's why I love my job right now. That's all I got.
Awesome. Well, I'll close with this one. You said that you love local government, so I think that works perfectly into my final question. With so many like bad things going on, or at least, from, my perspective and a lot of people's perspective, so many bad things going on at the federal and state level. Why should people care about city government? I mean, why should people think that city government makes a difference when maybe they're being bombarded by everything bad happening at the state and federal level?
It gives you hope. And it's such a Obama cliche, but our local government does truly, I think, give our community hope that they have representation that looks like them, that knows what their issues are, and that will fight every way that they can to help support them. Right now, we just got a letter from the LGBTQ plus IA community about a rainbow crosswalk and protecting it and making sure that we don't have to paint over it. And regardless of what you believe, so many of my neighborhoods support that crosswalk and support the pride that we have in our community for each of our residents. And so I think your local government should give you hope, even sometimes when we don't make it really seem like it with all of the kind of challenging conversations that are happening. Know that your local government is looking out for our community's best interests, and we'll keep fighting.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect way to close. My guest on the program today was District 1 City Councilwoman Dr. Sukh Kaur, who was recently reelected and even more recent than that was named the chair of the city's Public Safety Committee. Councilwoman Kaur, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.